Maryland versus Joseph Abdallah. Okay, and Ms. Wallace. Okay. All right, Mr. Abdallah is being brought up. Also, lockup needs to get people back to the jail, so I think we're going to do the two lockup cases first. Abdallah is now joining us. This is the case of State of Maryland versus Joseph Abdallah. And good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Okay, you can pull a chair and have a seat. The last time we were in court was July 29th. It was a trial. After trial, the court found Mr. Abdallah guilty on 6 counts. Plea was not guilty on the 6 counts. The court found him guilty on the 6 counts. 2 counts of second-degree assault, failing to obey a reasonable and lawful order, disorderly conduct, obstructing and hindering, and resisting arrest. All right, Mr. Brunson, I'll hear from you first.
Thank you. So again, we're still asking for probation before judgment. Mr. Abdallah has literally no record whatsoever aside from this. It was a lapse in judgment. He made mistakes. It was just poorly handled altogether. However, I don't think these charges should stick with him for the rest of his life and deter him from employment, all sorts of things that come along with it. And I'll note he works very hard at what he does. He works at Ornexa Fitness, instructing fitness. He does 3F Fitness, also instruction, does fetch pet care, he pet sits for owners. He's actually supposed to begin work as soon as he's released from here at Augustine Plumbing. He's a lifelong Montgomery County resident. He needs rehabilitation. I don't think he needs any sort of specific deterrence. You know, again, it was a lapse in judgment, but I don't see why that should follow him for the rest of his life. Now, I understand that people in the community were affected. There was parents, there's teachers, there were students. However, I will note, because I believe the state is seeking further incarceration, I believe he's learned a lesson from the time that he's done between his trial date and today, which I can't read minds, but I presumed that was your intention, is to make him think things over and realize that there are ramifications to this. That being said, I know the state's going to ask for further incarceration. To me, it feels much like a trial tax, because I wasn't even provided an offer to begin with. It was just, okay, we're having a trial. So that being said, I would just ask for time served and grant probation before judgment.
All right, let me hear from the state.
Yes, Your Honor. Although this defendant does not have any prior convictions, the state would be asking for a year of executed incarceration. The defendant now has been convicted of multiple counts here, 2 of those involving assault on an officer. And in addition to that, this did involve several members of the community, and what's particularly concerning to the state is that this was in front of children, and on top of that, he was making anti-Semitic statements, he was making homophobic statements, he was cursing, to the point where people were stopping what they were doing to observe this behavior and even filming this behavior. And additionally, it was concerning to the state that the defendant had a knife on him and may have pulled out that knife during the interaction with the officers. We also do have a...
Then the state, and I know you weren't the prosecutor who tried the case, it was mentioned that a knife, and then I know that at the time Mr. Abdallah was a martial arts teacher at the school, and it was somewhat concerning to the court, having seen the struggle that ensued, having watched the body cam videos. But I also didn't hear much. I know a knife fell from his pocket. Can you give me any more of a description in terms of this knife? I think he described it as a pocket knife, but any type of knife just caused me concern, given the fighting back and forth.
Yes, Your Honor. I believe it was testified to at one point during the trial that the officer had testified that he did pull a knife while they were trying to effectuate an arrest. The officer later said in his testimony that he wasn't sure if it just fell out of the pocket or where it came from. But it is clear that he did have a knife, regardless of the reason he had the knife. Struggling with officers so much, as he did in this case, and then also having a knife on his person, that puts these officers' lives in danger, all while doing this in front of families, kids, teachers, staff. That's why the state is
and also the school was put into lockdown. I don't know if that was...
Yes, Your Honor. And not only was it put into lockdown on that date, the school since that date has had to up their security over the course of summer, while summer camps are going on, and while back to school is going on. They've upped their security as a result of this. So it has been a hardship on the school as well. I think members of the community, although the hate crime wasn't charged in this case, I think that the community feels that this is a hate crime, given the statements that were made by the defendant that were anti-Semitic, homophobic, and using just foul language. I do have a member of the community who was recording this incident who would like to be heard by Your Honor, if Your Honor is amenable to hear that.
Of course. But one other thing, if you know, these officers, did either one of the officers incur injuries as a result of the fighting and resisting and struggling?
Some injuries. One of the officers is present in court today, if you would like to hear from him as well.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from him.
Sure.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
And could you please stand behind the microphone so we can all hear you?
Yes, sir.
What impact did this have upon you, officer?
I had minor scrapes and cuts. The other officer who's busy working, plain clothes in Germantown now, Officer Doug Stiles, he had very bad road rash, and I believe he described it to me as first-degree burns. So he, because the pavement was probably about 100 degrees that day, and we were wrestling around on the pavement, he still has scars from this, doing workers' comp, things like that. But I apologize he was unable to make it today to show you.
Were you able to actually see the knife that Mr. Abdallah had on his possession?
Yes, Your Honor. Can I show you my knife? It's a very approximate, similar color, but approximately this size knife, folding knife. just like this, was the one that I eventually threw away from Mr. Abdallah while we continued to try to get him into custody.
And so did you pull the knife out, or did the knife just appear on the ground?
No, it was Mr. Abdallah's knife. He admitted that he had it. He said that he had told, I guess, the court that he didn't pull it out, but it was presented, I guess, to our view. I don't know, because we were busy trying to wrestle his hands and legs when we went to the ground, so it wasn't like falling as we hit the ground. It was presented while it was on the ground. So I couldn't tell you, I believe during trial, whether he tried to pull it, tried to, hey, I want to get rid of this so the officers don't feel it and think something else is up, but I don't know why or how it came to be out of his pocket at the time, because we didn't go into his pockets.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Good afternoon.
Start by just stating your name.
Joy Bernstein.
Okay, Ms. Bernstein.
I'm a mother at the school. I was parked right behind. I'm the one who videotaped the whole incident. In terms of the effect on myself, it's okay, but it's definitely a heightened awareness of what can happen at the school. Part of the problem is that Mr. Abdallah actually taught my child in karate. So the fear for me is he actually had been teaching my child, had close proximity to my child. I don't know what his intentions were, but whilst he was resisting arrest and whilst he was struggling with the officers on the floor, he was calling us, can I use the expletive?
Yes.
Okay, he was calling us fucking Jewish bitches. We all know, and I know it was mentioned in the case, that there is a heightened awareness of what is going on in the world, what is going on in Israel, what is going on with Hamas. There has been an uptick in anti-Semitic incidents in this country that has never been seen before, in the hundreds of percent. Jews are being assaulted, Jews are being yelled at, Jews are being called foul names. This is something that we are very aware of, that the security at the school is very aware of. For Mr. Abdallah to be yelling and screaming on the floor that he's being targeted because he's an Arab when he has been teaching at our school for 6 months, had gone through security checks, had never been treated differently. For him to then call us fucking Jewish bitches and to be acting in that way where children saw him and have been traumatized incredibly, they're aware of what's going on in the world. The children who saw him are in like 3rd grade, 4th grade. The lower grades did not see him because there was a lockdown. Many parents saw him. Many parents there's been back and forth with the school. What do we do in terms of upping the security for the school? Because at this point in time now it feels like there is added vulnerability because this was someone who came into our school. It did not seem like a mistake. It felt like he was so hateful and so full of venom towards both the officers and the parents around there that I don't really know. I'm still struggling to kind of figure out where this came from. I saw the knife. You know, it was photographed. I kind of walked and went and videotaped it. This is not like a small little pocket knife, like, you know, your Swiss Army knife type thing. This is a knife that can do real damage. And the way that he was acting with the police, the way that he was yelling and screaming was really disturbing to the entire community and continues to be. I mean, I have people texting me, asking me, and many people couldn't come today, but they're saying, please tell us what's happening. We really need to know. We need to know our children are safe.
Approximately how many children witnessed this
I'd say between
event?
5 and 10. Because
how many
you have
parents were there?
Probably at the beginning, when it first started, there were just about 3 or 4. As it continued, I saw people around at least between 20 or so, 20 or 30.
And was this at the end of the day?
This was at the end of the day. So carpool starts. The children are let out at 3:30, but they're brought to a glass door. And you have sort of the older children, that's why I said it was like 3rd grade and 4th grade. The older children are called patrols, and they're in charge of the younger kids. So they start their whole, you know, they're brought and they say, okay, these are the kids you need to bring. So the older children were already at the glass doors. This took place around 2:55 it started, and it ended at about 3:10, 3:15, the entire thing. Right?
So how many students were in the school that couldn't leave because they were in lockdown?
The entire school. That's about 200 kids. No one, they were in total lockdown.
Were people looking out of the windows?
Yeah, they were. So that's what I'm saying. They didn't see, they saw the police cars, they saw the sirens, but the actual children who saw Mr. Abdallah on the ground with the police was between, like, I think 5 to 10. I don't know the exact number. but they were very disturbed by it.
Have counselors gone to the school to talk to the children?
So
about
this
what
was the
happened?
second last day of school.
Mm-hmm.
School broke up the following day, and I don't know, there's sort of HIPAA and all the rest of it, so we don't know what the counselors are doing. I do know that they have been instructed to speak to them if anyone has any issues, but I can't speak to that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So, Your Honor, given all of that, the state would be asking for a year of executed incarceration. We'd be opposing a probation before judgment, asking for supervised probation to include mental health treatment and a stay-away condition from the school.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Abdallah, is there anything that you would like to say to the court before the court imposes sentence?
Want to stand up?
Yes.
Your Honor, just before he gets to that, I would just like to point out that Mr. Abdallah was not charged with a hate crime. If the state wanted to charge him with one, they should have. They didn't. On top of that, we heard about an officer's first-degree burn. One, they're not doctors. Two, if it were a first-degree burn, that's when your skin actually catches on fire. That didn't happen. And as to everyone dwelling on this pocket knife, we heard during trial testimony from the officers that the knife fell out of somewhere on his person. No one could verify how it came about, whether it fell out of his pocket or what. There was no hard evidence that my client actually pulled out a knife.
Mr. Brunson, the concern that the court has is this, after a trial, this was a very hard-fought interaction with the police. And the concern for the court is obviously police officers, they're armed. The fact that Mr. Abdallah had an object, be it a pocket knife or a folding knife or whatever, it could be used as a weapon. And that is obviously, I think, should be obvious to everyone. That should be a concern that this occurred, that there was this knife that was potentially in play, and it was bad. It could have resulted in very, very serious life-threatening injuries. Whenever officers are struggling, the concern for the court is always, is somebody going to use a gun? And then again, if a gun is used by the officers, then it becomes a grand jury thing. Is it excessive force or not? Very gratefully, it didn't go there, but obviously that's in play. But then you have a knife, and that's in play. And then if the knife is actually used, and again, the concern for the court is, we were very close to a situation where a knife is in play, we have guns in play, students are watching this, parents are watching this, the school's in lockdown. This is sentencing. I know he wasn't charged with a hate crime, but I've had somebody who said that some hateful, hurtful words were said. And that is a concern for the court. And I just wanted to let you know where I was going so that you could fashion your arguments to address those concerns of the court.
I completely understand. It could have been much worse than it was. Fortunately, it wasn't. I just want to point out that we heard no evidence whatsoever that Mr. Abdallah actually pulled out the knife.
Right.
It's possible, sure, but we didn't hear that on record at trial.
Yeah, and one of the things, again, that the court has to consider is, again, who is the person? And I know that knives in and of themselves, you have the penknife exception and things of that nature, but nonetheless, it does draw some concern for the court. If somebody's walking around with a knife in their pocket, just about all my probation cases, I say do not possess a gun or weapons. It's one thing if you have a knife and you're in your kitchen and you're eating some food and you're using it to cut up meat, but again, you're walking around the street, this occurs and you have a knife in your pocket, and obviously the concern for the court is this is not something where you're using it in your kitchen. It's something that potentially could be used in a fight or worse out on the streets, and there was, for lack of a better way to put it, a fight, and Mr. Abdallah had a knife. But, You may continue, Mr. Brunson, or
Well,
Mr. Abdallah. Is there anything that you would like to tell the court?
If you care to say anything, this is your time to do so, but you don't have to.
I understand. So yeah, I worked at the CES school for 6 months with no incident. I had no issue with anybody in the Jewish community at all. I do have PTSD from being attacked multiple times throughout my life, and even being raped multiple times. So I carry a knife on me for my own protection. I have 22 years of teaching children. I don't have any incident with any of these students. I had no intention whatsoever to harm anybody. My foul language was absolutely a reaction of my PTSD of being ripped out of my car and being thrown to the ground. And on the evidence video, it very clearly shows that the moment the knife comes out, you can even see it and hear it, is when I got thrown to the ground by the officers. I understand that I should have just complied when they wanted to get my ID, and I disagreed that they needed it, and that was a huge mistake. It would have avoided this whole situation, and I shouldn't have gotten so angry. But I have no issue with the Jewish community. I have no issue with anybody at CES. They were fantastic to me, as I think Ms. Bernstein was saying. I suppose I even taught her child. And this has been, a huge wake-up call. And somebody very wise told me, you comply to stay alive, because I very easily could have been killed. I have a broken rib. I was strangled. I was kneed in the throat and face. I've lost 10 weeks of a summer with my daughter. And now she's starting 4th grade next Tuesday. I don't know, it was just a stupid thing.
Mr. Abdallah, it seems a little contradictory, and you can talk to Mr. Brunson about this. You taught martial arts at the Jewish Day School.
Yes.
And it seems a little contradictory if you teach martial arts and hopefully you're using it for self-defense. Why is it that you need a knife in your pocket?
Sometimes things get escalated on the street. You'll encounter somebody who isn't just going to have their bare hands with you. They're going to have a weapon, and it's more of a comfort. I've had that knife for 20 years, and it's been in my left jacket pocket that whole time. I'd never take it out for anything. My brother gave it to me. I've never had to use it, even really for a tool. It's just something that helps me to feel better. I leave it in my car when I get to work, and I don't use it for anything. I don't know what else to say about that. And as far as my martial arts training, I didn't use any type of martial arts on anybody. I didn't hit anybody. I didn't push. The officer's own testimony was that I kept my hands against my chest, which was true, as 911 calls will show, because I was on the phone with 911 asking them for help the entire time. And my phone was against my chest, and they kept trying to take it, and I was holding my phone. So I was not pushing. I wasn't kicking. I wasn't grabbing for my knife. I was staying on the phone with 911 to make sure that I could try and get some help or something recorded about what was going on. My foul language, only for calling those officers Jewish bitches in the moment, was because at that moment it occurred to me, maybe this is a hate crime against me for being Arab. That maybe they ran my tags. I can't believe that they didn't know who I was, working there for 6 months, twice a week, coming out with a big 4-foot big duffel bag of martial arts equipment. And then they claimed that they never saw me, they didn't know who I was. I don't understand what kind of officer can claim that. That sounds just unreasonable to me. I believe they knew who I was, and if you watch the video carefully, it's the moment I say that I'm Arab, you're beating on an Arab guy, then that's when I believe Officer Stiles started to actually physically hit me and strangle me and broke my rib. I intended nobody any harm. I feel horrific for having scared any of the children present, though I believe it was 2:45, and none of them were even out of the classrooms until 3:30. So I don't believe any of them were present, any of them witnessed. I don't believe it shows on any of the footage anywhere they were there, because it just doesn't make sense for the time of day, because they don't come out until 3:30. They're not released until 3:30. Again, I didn't mean anybody harm, and I feel disgusted that I spoke the words that I spoke, but I felt at that moment when I said what I said, I felt that there was a hate crime against me for being Arab. And that was the only logical explanation I had for what was going on in my mind as I was getting beaten and thrown around on the floor. Again, I could have all been avoided if I just handed over my ID, and I wouldn't be looking at what it sounds like. I feel an incredibly unjust amount of time away from my daughter and just ruining my life. I've been made out to be a terrorist in the media already. I have no history of violence, nothing. My business, Ornexa Fitness, is destroyed. It's put all over different websites, Instagram. They manipulated the evidence. They showed the evidence that was put in court, and then they leave out the officer beating me and just make it sound like I was some knife-wielding maniac, which is not the case at all. And I think that any of the children would attest to the wonderful teacher that I am and could continue to be anywhere that I go. I don't know what else to say other than I just really wish I had just showed my ID, because there was nothing for the officers to fear of me and nothing of the school to fear of me. I think 6 months of no incidents has really proved that, and 22 years lifelong of working with children proves that.
Well, I think realistically, and again, you put yourself in this situation,
Yes.
Having created this scene that, you've closed a door in terms of this type of vocation, in terms of your helping children, and that's just the way it's going to be. You mentioned, or Mr. Brunson mentioned something about a different employment opportunity, which you're looking at right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never stop with martial arts and fitness. It's my passion in life.
He's referring to, you said you were going to
something
start
about
at Augustine Plumbing.
Yes, but he also said that that's no longer an option.
Is it an option or not an option?
That
Augustine
depends if anybody
Plumbing.
wants to work with me at this point.
Okay, but do you have skills in plumbing?
I have good general skills, but this particular company knows me well, and they're ready to hire me.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to tell me, sir?
I just really want to get home to my daughter, man. I wasn't a harm to anybody, Your Honor, and I have no history of harming anybody in any way whatsoever. And I deeply apologize for my words to the Jewish community. I would never, ever want to harm anybody, and I would appreciate if anybody even just look up the movement and the organization I run called Our Next Arc, which is a nonviolent movement to ensure that everybody has their basic needs met. I'm not out to harm anybody. I'm not a part of any religious group. I'm not a part of any organization other than my own to ensure that basic needs are met for everybody, including Jewish people, including Muslims, including Christians, everybody. None of that stuff matters to me. Yes, I'm deeply disturbed by genocide and hateful things, but I don't believe in using violence against anybody except those who are using it against me. And even in this moment, I didn't that day. I didn't use any violence against anybody, and I wouldn't.
Okay. All right, Mr. Abdallah, you can have a seat here. I need to fill out the
Thank you.
paperwork, and then I'll get back with you. Counsel, please approach. I'm looking at this probation contract. I've never seen this before. Hate crime anti-bias education per criminal law 10306C. Has anybody ever seen that before? All right, well, we're going to look it up now. Yeah. Now this, okay. Maybe that's in the pocket part. I think it may refer to the specific crime. I don't know if it, let's see what it is. It says, in addition to any other penalties imposed by this section, the court may require a person who violates this subtitle to complete an anti-bias education program. So it's specific to the statute, but let me see.
This is also other hate crimes, right?
Yeah. I've never heard of an anti-bias education program. You know, so your internet's not working? Because my internet is working now. I'm just looking at it. See if anything. Well, there's workplace anti-bias education. I think, I don't know what you, at the state or the public defender's office, we have, typically we have training like that.
Yeah, but it looks like, from what I'm seeing on section 10306, it refers to person who violates 10304. Then it says, in addition to any other penalties imposed by the section, court may require a person who violates subtitle to complete an anti-bias education program. So to me, it sounds like it has to specifically be a charge under section 10304.
Well, I mean, I could add it as another condition.
Yeah.
There's anti-bias education training, healthcare professionals, mandatory implicit bias training. Okay. All right. I think maybe I'll fashion it maybe as part of a different part of my probation. Okay. All right. All right. Usher off. I called counsel up here because under the probation contract, there is something here that talks about anti-bias education. And I'm not going to get into the discussion of whether what you said, what Ms. Bernstein heard, that's the way she viewed it versus the way you said it, whether what you said was taken out of context. But as part of my probation, I am going to order anti-bias education. And again, it's not something that's just for you. We in the judiciary, the state's attorney's office, the public defender's office, we're all state employees. We regularly have this type of diversity training and sensitivity training, and I'm going to make that part of your probation also. So you can have a seat, sir.
Honor, I don't know if this was, I don't think that this was mentioned during the sentencing, but he does have 30 days of credit by my calculations. Is that the same that you have?
8 days. 8 days from 6/13 to 6/20,
And then 20.
then 7/29 to 8/19, 3/19/22. So I have 30 days.
Yeah.
So my math matches up to your math. Okay, give me some more time here. Mr. Abdallah, please stand. Mr. Abdallah, when the court sentences an individual in a criminal case, the court has to consider three things: rehabilitation, deterrence, and punishment. Let me first talk about deterrence and punishment. On this particular date, when you caused the Charles when you caused the Charles E. Smith Jewish Day School to go into a lockdown because you decided to take on the police and you didn't obey their lawful orders, and again, they're there because our schools are our sanctuaries, be it elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, colleges. We absolutely want to make sure that our schools are safe for everyone, and that is why they are there. And that's why the police were there to maintain the safety. And they don't know who you are, they don't know what your intentions were, but they were doing their job. And when you took them on and questioned them, and it led to this situation where that school had to go into lockdown, parents and children heard very frightening words, saw very frightening actions. That is not something that we want to see in our county, in our state, anywhere. It's just very disturbing. So in terms of deterrence for you and for other people, this is the type of behavior that we in the court system, we have to do our best to try and deter it. And we have to send a message to you and to others that this is not acceptable behavior because, again, our schools should be a safe place. It should be a happy place. And in terms of deterrence for you and also punishment, I have to consider that because you did harm to this school, you did harm to the parents, you did harm to the students, you did harm to these police officers, you did harm to our community. That's not the type of behavior that we want to see. Now again, it's not something that you can take back. What is done is done. But that, in terms of my sentence and addressing deterrence and punishment, that is part of my sentence. It's to send you and others a message that this type of behavior is certainly not going to be condoned in our community. Part of my sentence also has to do with rehabilitation. The people that spoke here today, they have a certain view of you. It's not a very good view. The view that you gave me is a much better view. And I hope that the person that you described to me is the person from this day on is going to be a good and upstanding citizen in our community. Okay? So on my probation, there's going to be rehabilitation. I'll also tell you this. I'm not going to do it today, but I encourage you to apply for the pre-release center. Now, not everybody gets into that program. They're going to screen you. If they think you're a good candidate for work release, they will make a recommendation to me. I'm not going to sign off on it. I'm going to give the state the opportunity at a reconsideration sentence. Should you decide to keep this case in the district court, I'll have another hearing, and then I'll decide whether I'll allow you into the pre-release center, meaning that you can work during the day. And Mr. Brunson can tell you more about the pre-release center. But it is a good program. We're proud of the program. But not everybody gets into that program. If you're going to go in there and commit crimes, do drugs, be a bad influence, you're not going to get into that program. But that is out there, okay? Because rehabilitation, and my job here is to make you a upstanding citizen, a productive member of our community, and hopefully this was just a one-off. And I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. Obviously, if you do something like this in the future, I'm going to step you back, and I will issue a bench warrant very quickly, and you'll serve the rest of your sentence in jail. But again, there's going to be punishment, there is going to be deterrence, but again, it's rehabilitation too. I want to make sure that when this is done with, you're going to be a better person, better citizen, productive member of our community. I'm not going to give you a probation before judgment, but I'm not ruling that out down the road. If you can show me that this person who did these actions on this particular day, that is not you, but you're a good person inside, and that you're going to be an individual who's going to be productive and a good person in our community, well then I will consider a probation before judgment down the road, should you decide to keep this case here in the district court. Let me go through your appeal rights. Sir, if you're not happy with the sentence, you have 30 days to request an appeal, 90 days to request a reconsideration of sentence, 10 days to request a new trial. The first thing, sir, is as part of your sentence, I'm going to place you on 2 years of active supervised probation upon your release. Here is your probation contract right here. All standard conditions will apply. Be a good citizen, okay? Don't deal drugs, don't get arrested, no DWIs. Those are basically your standard conditions. Now, under the standard conditions, and I want to make it very clear to you, under 6, get permission from the court before owning, possessing, using, or having under your control any dangerous weapon or firearm of any description. Okay? I'm going to make it very clear. Under 34, you are not to possess any weapons or firearms. I don't know if you want to go back into martial arts. Again, if you're not using weapons, that's fine, but you are not to possess any weapons. You are not to possess any firearms. You are not to be walking around with a knife in your pocket. Okay?
Sir.
Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. Under special conditions, submit to evaluation, and complete mental health treatment as necessary, drug and alcohol treatment as necessary. I also included successfully complete anti-bias sensitivity training to be determined by parole and probation. Okay, and I know there's programs out there because all of us, and I'm talking about Mr. Brunson, the state, myself, we've all done sensitivity and anti-bias training, and that's just part of our job, but that's going to be part of your probation. Okay? You're to totally abstain from marijuana, all illegal substances, abusive use of any prescription drugs, refrain from driving or attempting to drive after consuming alcohol. I'm ordering that you complete 50 hours of community service. That's to be done within the 2 years of your probation. You are to have no contact with Officer Stiles, Officer Latcher, or any witness who testified in this trial. So I'm not going to mention that name in my probation contract, but again, anybody who testified in this case, have no contact with them, stay off social media, don't talk about them. You are to stay away from the Charles E. Smith Jewish Day School, located at 1901 East Jefferson Street, Rockville, Maryland. Again, what I wrote on your probation contract, PRC program. So court will consider the PRC program at a reconsideration hearing. And again, that is if you're eligible. And if you're eligible, I will have it come back for a reconsideration hearing, and then no promises, but I'll hear arguments further, and I will consider whether the court will allow you to get into that pre-release, work release program. Okay? Sir, do you have any questions about your probation?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Court will sentence you, sir, in the following fashion: to the charge of second-degree assault. You pled not guilty. For now, the court will enter the guilty verdict. The sentence of the court will be 10 years, suspend all but 1 year. I'll give you credit for 30 days that you have served. To the charge of second-degree assault, which was count 2. It will be 10 years. You pled not guilty. The court went to the guilty verdict. Sentence you 10 years, suspend all but 1 year. Starting today, give you credit for the 30 days that you have served. This is going to be concurrent with count 1. As to count 3, failing to obey a reasonable lawful order, the court will sentence you to 60 days. Give you credit for the 30 days that you have served. It will be concurrent with the other counts. Disorderly conduct, sentence of the court. Again, you pled not guilty, found guilty, enter the guilty verdict. 60 days. Give you credit for the 30 days that you've served. On obstructing and hindering, sentence of the court, will be 1 year. Give you credit for the 30 days, and this will be concurrent with counts 1 through 4. And as to the last count, sir, resisting arrest, court will sentence you to a year in jail. Give you credit for the 30 days that you have served, and it will be run concurrent with all the other counts. All right? Sir, any questions about your sentence? Any questions about your probation?
Can I speak to my lawyer for a moment?
Sure.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, Your Honor, the disorderly and failure to obey, those are also concurrent?
Yeah, all counts will be concurrent.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else?
I can tell you right now, it's not doing that. Your Honor, would you consider unsecured bond for public purposes?
No.
I have a condo, Your Honor. I have 2 cats.
Not at this time. All right. Thanks, sir. Good luck to you.
I'll come down and talk to you.
Yes.